Welcome to the Tuesday, August 4th, 2020 Board of Selectmen's meeting. Tonight, we're going to start with a special presentation for dedication of our town report. John, take it over.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and it's a real pleasure to see Richard Clark here this evening to join us. The Board of Selectmen dedicated their town report this 2019 to Richard, and this is what you're going to get, Richard, at some point. I can't pass it to you tonight, but you'll get it when you come to Town Hall next. So let me tell you what it says. It is an honor to dedicate the 2019 Wells Town Report to a long-term outstanding former selectman. Richard Clark served as selectman from 1997 to 2006 and 2007 to 2015, and in the capacity of chairman from 2009 to 2010. Richard has a truly common sense approach to local government and believes in keeping it simple, efficient, and effective. While on the Board of Selectmen, he oversaw, with his other board members, the building of the York County Community College, the Wells Transportation Center, several harbor dredges and boat infrastructure improvements, public safety complex siting and planning projects, the purchase of many important conservation parcels, in particular the former site of the LNG proposed tank, and the library visioning and planning process for its new addition. As the board chairman, he served on the Wells Reserve Regional Management Authority and helped guide the reserve in their mission with other federal and state partners. Richard will be remembered for his even-handedness, focus, and town defender for the face of controversy regarding the legal issues with the library trustees, citing proposed LNG tanks, and the Nestle bottling water project. Richard has a contagious, dry sense of humor, which he works into every conversation and meeting while staying laser focused on getting things done. He leads by example through participating in many town projects, such as the recent Habitat for Humanity construction of a home on land the town assisted in obtaining. Richard Clark left the Board of Selectmen to run for county commissioner. He won without mounting a campaign in a very large coastal commissioner district. We were sorry to have lost him to the county and wish him continued success in his public service. Thank you, Richard, for your service as selectman to the town of Wells, Wells Board of Selectmen and town manager. What happened?
Yay!
Hey.
Congrats, Richard.
Good evening.
Congratulations.
Oh. Am I on?
Yes.
Go ahead, yes, you are.
It's hard to tell sometimes what's going on, but I'm seeing Kathy, and that's a much better looking picture than me, so I'd stick with that one. I want to thank you all. I'm really honored by this. My first thought when I heard that I was going to be receive the dedication of the town report is, did they run out of dead people to dedicate? I was a little concerned there, but it's very kind, and I'd just like to say that whatever I accomplished as a selectman, I did not accomplish alone. I accomplished with the cooperation and the help of the other folks on the Board of Selectmen, countless volunteers in this town who serve on planning boards and budget boards and library boards and 101 other things that go on here, and a staff that is absolutely first rate. I worked with John for the first third of my tenure on the Board of Selectmen. I worked with another town manager for about the middle portion, and we got John back again towards the end. And I know John's finishing up this week, and those are going to be big shoes to fill. He deserves a lot more credit than I do. But again, I want to thank you for this honor, and it is an honor. I want to again say that my piece of this is very, very small, and the piece of other people who worked on all of these projects is very, very large. And I will leave you with this, that someone said that 90% of life is just showing up, so I deserve at least 90% of this award. Once again, thank you very, very much. I wish you all the best. The town's in good shape, by and large, although you will always have your challenges, some you expect and some that come out of nowhere. And I wish you the best as a board, and I hope for the best with your next town manager. And thank you. I am truly honored. I would only hope they find a better picture than mine to put on this next year. So thank you all, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard. Well, it's certainly well deserved. It's been 18 years anyway, and thank you for your service in the county commissioner role as well.
Well, thank you, Carl. I appreciate it.
Richard, I must say that I had the pleasure of working with you for my first few years on the board, and we didn't always agree, but you were always well thought out in your message to me, and I always appreciate well studied and always very knowledgeable about everything, and I do appreciate. I learned a lot from you in my early days. Lastly, I just was hoping that bird behind you would say something, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate what you said. And one of the better things about this board is, by and large, we can disagree without being disagreeable. There are times when it gets a little heated, but for the most part, people are respectful of one another, and that's very valuable and important. The bird's he's 23. He doesn't talk much anymore. He used to be pretty chatty, but the last few years he's pretty quiet. Once in a while he gives a little squawk, but mostly he eats and sleeps. So, and I understand exactly how he feels, because I'm getting there myself. I'm a little past 23, but thank you again. Thank you all.
Yeah, Richard, I just want to say thank you as well. Whether I was working as an assessor and you were the selectman, or at the county on the budget and doing that and being a selectman, I gotta say, you've always been right straight up front, and everybody always knew how you felt about things, and I think that is a terrific asset. And I think this award, you deserve this very much. So
well, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, again, congratulations. Look forward to seeing you in better and healthier times, Richard. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, now you can go on from the nice part of the meeting to the more interesting stuff, and I wish you the best with it, but I don't think I will join you for the rest of the meeting. So good luck, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
Next is Municipal Officers Workshop and Business or Public Hearings, with the first public hearing to amend Chapter 49 Personnel regarding the elimination of the Maine PERS cap on non-union employees and adding the vesting periods to the town's ICMA RC 401 plan. John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, what we're doing with this public hearing is amending Chapter 49, which is the personnel chapter of our Code of Ordinances. And in workshop at our last meeting, we talked about the reason we're doing it, which is that on Maine PERS, which is the retirement program we have for most of our employees, there is a cap on the payment, and we are removing that cap on what the employee has to pay. And so that is the first part of the amendment. And then the other part is putting the vested framework that has been in policy into the ordinance for the 401k contributions.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
Brittany, do you have any questions from the public?
Nope.
Kathy, I'll take a motion.
I move to close the public hearing and to amend Chapter 49 Personnel regarding the elimination of the Maine PERS cap on non-union employees and adding the vesting periods for the town's ICMA RC 401 plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Next is municipal officers vote and submittal of the Maine Municipal Association Legislative Policy Committee election ballot. John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Larissa Crockett, our incoming town manager as of next Monday, has been serving on the Legislative Policy Committee of the Maine Municipal Association. She would like to stay on that and was able to get her name on the ballot, which you are voting on tonight to represent our district. The other person running is a William Ward, the select board member in the town of Kennebunk. Fortunately, you vote for two, so there is not a contest. The Legislative Policy Committee is a very important committee of the Maine Municipal Association. It's made up of, I think, around 50 members. They review and vote on legislation going before the legislature with emphasis on municipal impacts. And so they may review in a regular session 100 or so pieces of legislation, if not more, and they put a recommendation on it, which the lobbyist for MMA then takes and runs with at the legislature. So she's been serving on this board for many years, and she has asked for your support on her ballot.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
Take a motion.
Ready? Okay. I move to vote affirmatively for the two candidates representing the Wells District to the MMA LPC and submit the ballot following the selectmen signing it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Moving on to the COVID-19 update, John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, we're still in our emergency state. The governor has been working to open up the schools. All 16 counties have the, I guess, green light if they wish to open. And so what she is now emphasizing on is having people wear masks. And we are doing our part with the beach ambassadors and working with the state to make sure complaints that we receive are investigated. And they're mainly on masks that we're getting from the state. So we're doing what we can to uphold that order that she has out there.
Hey, Jonathan, excuse me, John. Could you move the microphone closer to you? We're getting a lot of feedback, static.
Is that, it's not my feedback, it's somebody.
You know what? I'm not sure. Are you hearing the rain that's on the roof?
Oh,
Okay.
that could be.
That's probably it.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry,
It's
John,
not
go
really
ahead.
raining here, so it must be you, Kathy. Sorry.
I don't know how to put my, I don't know
Put
how
up
to,
your umbrella.
Kathy, can you mute yourself until you want to
I
talk?
can't, no, I've been trying to look for it and I can't find it.
Kathy's never been able to mute herself. That's
That's true. My whole family will tell me that too.
Well, here I'll mute you. I'll mute you.
Through Captain Shabbat of the police department, we have submitted a second application for round 2 of the Muni grants that the governor has issued. We have submitted $77,000, and we are looking for 17 laptops, AV enhancement, which would make this room Zoom and all of the different media able to broadcast on one single platform. And so you won't see all these wires and microphones and everything. We are looking for some equipment that will help us continue to do cleaning with COVID, and more PPE materials, and a couple of retractable barriers. So we will probably hear sometime this week or next week on whether or not we've been funded. The library opened today, and Cindy, our library director, is with us to talk about how that experience went.
Hi, everybody. It went really well. So the library closed to the public way back in March, mid-March, and we reopened June 1st to curbside delivery only. And today was the first day that we've had patrons back in the library since that day in March. We set it up so they had half-hour appointments in groups of 10, and we did that for 3 hours this afternoon. We ended up having 36 people come in, and it went really well. Everybody followed the procedures and practiced social distancing. They were so happy. We had so many people tell us that how happy they were to be back in the library, be able to see what new books there were and check things out. We were fortunate to have volunteers help us man the entry doors, you know, to make sure everybody was following the rules and getting their hand sanitizer and wearing their masks and all that. And staff were happy too to see everybody back and talk to patrons that we hadn't seen in a long time. So all in all, it went really, really well.
Very good.
Thank you, Cindy. And then as part of the lodging committee, they have asked if we would consider bringing forward to the Board of Selectmen the hospitality and tourism recovery proposal that they are seeking from the governor. They are looking for $800 million in economic recovery throughout the state. In your packets were the summary of that plan, and the lodging committee is seeking to see if the board might support and advocate for this plan that has been put forward. Maybe Sean, you might want to speak to that, or?
Yeah, so when we were talking about what we can do with regards to lodging, a lot of what was said is the days and time that were lost, and there's nothing that we can do as a board to ease that burden on them going forward, because it's just simply lost. So the one thing that they had said that would be a huge benefit would be for us to lobby on their behalf to the governor's office to help Hospitality Maine lobby for this proposal from the state through the CARES Act. So I told them I'd be happy to bring it, in front of the board, and hope that we can all support this in order to try to help them out to get some funding.
Anyone have any problems supporting this? Well, I'd say it's a green light to go ahead, John.
All right. Would you like a letter put together and you guys can sign?
Yeah, I'd write that like we did earlier with a couple other things. I think a letter would be good, and we all sign it and send it up.
All right. And then the balance in We Are Wells Fund is $22,145. And thank you all, Wells, for helping out.
John, you want to just take a quick minute and tell people about that fund and how to access it if they need some help, and what to do again, in case people are wondering?
Or Brittany, you want to do this?
Sure. So we created the We Are Wells Fund a couple months back after the impact of COVID-19. Basically, the local community can come forward with donations. It's a very easy to use donation platform. So I can post the link on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But essentially, community members came forward and made a donation to the town, and then that money will be used to, give assistance to those who need it and were impacted by the pandemic. So again, I can post those links. They've been posted before. I'll reshare them on all of our social media platforms. But you can make credit card payments. It's very easy and intuitive. And yeah, we just appreciate everyone's donations so far.
And how you access it is by emailing the town manager or the general assistance, Lori Lord, with your needs, and she will work to process it with you.
Great, thanks, guys. That's a help. Moving on to workshops. Our first one is the Lodging Facility Advisory Committee update and recommendations. John.
Well, I will lead it off, and then Sean, who's the liaison, can jump in. Bob Sullivan, I don't think is on. I don't see him. Bob has done a great job as its chair. There is a short memo in your packets. The issue that you asked the lodging committee to look at, both last meeting and this meeting again, for the time lost for the seasonal cottages. They felt, again, after we revamped and amended the ordinance further from our last meeting, we took that to them. They still felt that because, as Sean was saying, that time, it's been lost, and it's not equitable to the entire lodging arena. Wells is unique in how much we have in the different types of lodging, and to segment one section of lodging and try to help those people out and not be able to help everybody else out appeared to be a problem for the lodging committee.
Yeah, and to me, the most compelling argument made, unfortunately, it wasn't provided in the summary, but the most compelling part that was made was in their opinion, all we'd be doing is changing the lodging formula. So basically, opening up a little earlier isn't going to actually add any more tourists to the community at that time, because they're saying that the people that are up early are staying in hotels and motels before their seasonal cottages open. So we're not adding more people. In their opinion, we're just shifting where those people would be staying. And that was the argument that was made.
Questions or comments from the board in regards to any of that information?
No, I was one of the ones really pushing for this, but after explained to me by a couple of the board members, I understood where they were coming from. I might not be in total agreement with, but I'm understanding where they're coming from, and I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm not in total agreement either, but I'm also not in the lodging business, and I didn't hear anyone that is in the lodging business lobbying for it. The other thing that they were saying is if we did allow them to open up early, even though they're not compelled to open up early, their customers will compel them to open, and it's going to be more of a headache for them. Like a campground owner had said that they're just going to get calls from all their renters or their seasonal residents in the campgrounds, asking them to open up, even though they know for a fact they would never open up early just because of the laundry list of things that they had listed out to us. So they said it would just be more of a pain for them than an assistance.
Yeah, it was explained to me by one seasonal person that the amount of work that goes into opening it started even earlier. Not sure that the pipes would freeze. You know, there was a lot of question marks around how they park on grass. Would the grass be dry enough to park on? Then you're ruining the lawns. There was a lot more to it than just saying, hey, let's open up early just to give you a break. I felt, you know, it was interesting, I think.
Well, there's a reason why we formulated the committee. The committee took on the task. They investigated it. The board asked them to revisit it. They're coming up with the same recommendation. I'm going to agree with the committee's recommendations.
Yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate it. They took it back. They looked at it again. They all discussed it. And again, I think they have been very great at giving valid reasons for what they made that decision on.
Everyone's in agreement. We'll leave it alone then.
On the second issue that we've been working on as a committee, short-term rentals, they have really taken it seriously, and they are moving in a direction, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but as the chair has indicated, they are looking at in a general supporting of the need to register short-term rentals. There are between 500 and 800 of these things in the town of Wells. They're primarily whole house units, and the committee is continuing to work on it. Tomorrow is another meeting, and I think at your meeting on the 18th, there will be a better recommendation, but they are leaning towards using a company to help gather this data, and they are unsure what sort of ordinance or regulatory method should be used to take that data and do something with it. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. There are some examples that we've given them. The town of Kittery has just passed a registration type ordinance, which is nothing more than they have a similar 150, which is a registration licensing ordinance. And so we'll have a better recommendation for the board at the 18th. On the issue of accessory dwelling units, they had really no negative
Wait,
comments.
excuse me, John, wait. Can I just say something about that last issue you just talked about?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I did receive some calls, and that there were people that were very concerned about having a third party be taking information and having that available, and how secure would that be? And so I think that that might be something that we want to look at, that we might not want to hire a company to do it, that maybe we should be looking at doing it ourselves, just to let you know.
Well, we wouldn't know who these people were if we didn't have the company.
Okay, I don't necessarily agree with that, but we'll listen to what they propose. But there's been really a big concern about that, because a lot of these people that are renting out on the Airbnbs or whatever, these are their homes or the places that they live, and they have been renting out their homes as well. So they don't really want a lot of information to be out in the hands of somebody else. I'm the messenger. I'm telling you, that's what I heard. So I would be very concerned on the company that we choose, if we choose any.
And I had gotten similar calls as well. And I directed that person to the lodging committee and to attend the meeting virtually, and just input that in public comment, because I do think it's a question that needs to be asked. So
Yeah, Leah had
that's an interesting issue that I hadn't thought about before, but as I'm just thinking this through, and I think it would probably require a bit more research, but in some ways, arguably having a third party have that information may be more secure in the sense that a lot of that information, were the town to process it, may very well be public under FOA. So if it's a private entity that has that information, unless somebody can argue that they are somehow the agent of the town, it might be better protected. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Obviously, that would bear some research. I don't know the answer. If a third party is the one doing this on behalf of the town, if their information would be subject to the right to know law, but it's just something to think about. And I can look into it further if you want me to.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Do I need
Any
to
other questions?
go through the accessory dwelling unit thing again? Or
Sure.
Sorry, John.
No, the accessory dwelling unit amendment was brought to the lodging committee's attention, and they had no negative comments on it. In the coming weeks, they will be finishing up their tasks because there's no issue with amending 145 with lodging issues. They will continue to meet probably 2 more times and issue their report to the Board of Selectmen.
And I also want to add, there were a couple members of the board that would like to extend the charge because they had some more information and recommendations that they might want to look more into, and they think that this would definitely extend past the 18th sunset that we had initially given them. And I thought that it was a good idea for us to extend this out to maybe a standing committee if there's more to be done, which it sounds like there is.
Yeah, I would think that this whole short-term rental thing and everything is not going to be done on the 18th. I mean, that seems like, and then where we start talking about accessory dwellings, and we're going to have this conversation, I think, later, and, are we adding more Airbnbs to our role and all this stuff? I think having this lodging committee maybe we've always had a lodging committee, they just never met, if I remember right. I might have that wrong. Why not just extend them whenever, right? If they want to serve, I mean, it's nice to have somebody that's in the business or has some kind of skin in the game that would allow us to use them and their knowledge instead of us just trying to guess. Because I'm not in the lodging business. I don't know if anybody else is, but it's good to have people that know what they're doing on these committees.
I agree. I think I can't believe that they would only be able to do it in 2 or 3 weeks. Short-term rentals is going to be a much longer study and a thinking process because it's pretty complicated. So I agree that we could extend it. I don't have any problem with that.
Would you like on your 18th meeting an extension period or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then unfortunately, Ron Collins has had to step down from the committee, and he submitted his resignation.
Okay, I believe we'll take that up later to accept that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Any other questions or comments at this point on the accessory dwelling units?
No, that's not. That was just part of the report, right? We're not.
Right. The next workshop is.
So, John, for the vacancy on that board, is that filled by the alternate? And then do we have to fill the alternate slot again with another applicant?
That is correct.
Okay.
Next workshop is street discontinuance, the north end of Chamber Road.
It's the accessory dwelling unit workshop.
Yeah, we haven't gone into that yet. The
Okay.
last one was. Yeah.
Carry on.
I'm gonna turn it over to Mike Livingston, who's in the room, but you can't see him.
My hand.
Yeah, his hand.
I guess I always get here late, so I get the chair that no one can see. Thanks, John. Yeah, we had a couple of items in your packets. There was a memo I did last week that I did a couple sample plots of homes and lots in the 3 different zones. The Board of Selectmen asked me to do a little analysis to look at how many lots are actually non-conforming in the different zones. And so I just randomly picked sample areas, and it was a lot higher than I thought. When we spoke at our last workshop, I was really assuming that 80–90% of the lots in those zones were already non-conforming. And it's a good thing that they're not. It means when we created the zoning, we created it around the existing lots that were there. But as you can see from the plots that I did and attached to that memo, most of the zones, either half the lots are still conforming or larger, or 75% of the lots were conforming in one of the zones I looked at. So the fact that the accessory dwelling units can only be put on a lot that's conforming to the district, I thought that would be a big inhibitor for people to be able to do these accessory dwelling units. And as it turns out, there's a lot more conforming lots than I imagined down there. So it'd come down. The deciding factor on whether they could do an accessory dwelling unit will really reflect on the parking and lot coverage restrictions down in those zones. Those are 2 significant factors that certainly could still restrict someone from getting a permit to get a building permit for an accessory dwelling unit. But it was an interesting analysis, and I thought you'd find it very interesting. Another update is that the planning board did conduct a public hearing last night at their meeting on the zoning change, and we had no one show up from the public for our public hearing, so no one spoke to it. The planning board did review it in workshop at the end of the meeting, and they forwarded it to the selectmen with a recommendation to put it on November ballot, and they didn't have any recommended changes. The language that they saw was in the proposed ordinance change was fine with them. But of course, knowing that you're gonna do your own workshop and schedule your own public hearing and make the final decision on what will actually appear on the ballot.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say right up front, I'm really not for this right, the way it is right now. I think that the whole idea for the accessory dwelling unit was for residents who lived here, who wanted to be able to provide some place for their parents or in-laws to be able to stay with them so they can watch over and take care of them. That was the whole idea behind the accessory dwelling unit to begin with. And obviously, again, I think the reason why they weren't put in these areas is because it was east of Route 1. You're talking about a 5,000 square foot lot is being a dwelling unit right now. And then you're going to add another one so that you're really putting 2,500 square feet per unit on each of those. So I just think, A, you don't have the residents in those areas, and B, that we don't have the lot sizes that would warrant it, and C, we're already dealing with short-term rentals now, and if you're going to allow it in those areas where people are not residents that are adding it, it's not going to be for an in-law, it's going to be for an added rental unit. And so I think if they didn't have anybody there, people just really weren't paying attention and or didn't understand what it was. However, can I just say one other thing? That I think that in some of those areas, especially Drake's Island, but in some when they just cross over on the other side of, there are developments there. People actually live in those that are residents of Wells. I think if we added, you had to be a resident. This has to be your primary residence to it. At least we know that the people are living there and they're putting them in for that. So that would be something with the minimal I would want to be on that. The other thing is I don't see any reason why. And Mike, can you tell me exactly how many people have actually applied? Has it been more than 10? Has it been, how many people have actually applied for this?
I guess I'd have to defer to Jodine on that and just for an idea of how many people apply per year for them.
We probably do about 15 a year. Mostly they're on the other side of Route 1. I've had probably 3 total of at least inquiries down in these district areas.
Right. So with that, you are with 3 to 15 a year. You're talking about just a blanket permission given to all those areas when 50% or more are not residents. So if we don't put the minimum, I would want to see the minimum requirement that it would have to be this is your primary residence and you're adding it, or we can actually say in those areas, don't change the zoning, but provide a process that somebody who lives here, that's a resident, that wants to put in an accessory dwelling on their property for in-laws or members of the family, then they could come through a process, apply for it, and then the Board of Selectmen or that process that could approve it or disapprove it. For the few number that we have a year, that would be reasonable, I think, instead of giving a blanket opening for more short term B&B.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I do see an issue. I mean, I think there are people on the beach that are truly looking to build for their in-laws, and I want them to do that if they're residents down there and that's what they want. My issue would be, having been down there during a busy summer season, if somebody's adding more, let's face it, most people that are going to want this are going to want it to be their rental unit east of Route 1. They're not looking for an in-law apartment. For 90% of them, let's say that. I'm not saying everyone. I just don't see adding. I laughed a couple of weeks ago, and I started thinking about the 2 parking spots and all that stuff. That I don't know anyone that can add 2 parking spots on Wells Beach right now into their area. It just. I just think you're opening up a can of worms, and we're already struggling with Airbnbs and how we're going to handle this, and we're just going to add to it. If we're talking 500 to 800 right now, to add more to it, I'm not sure.
Just a quick question to that theme to ask you guys real quick. With the parking, though, it seems like, and we brought it up at the last meeting, that would be a primary inhibitor for a lot of those places down on the beach. I mean, so. Is it your opinion, I guess, Mike, you'd be the one to ask. Would it be your opinion that a lot of these places that are rentals or in let's say a prime rental location would be automatically disqualified due to the parking situation?
Yes, a lot of them, I thought the conforming lot status would be a big inhibitor, but as it turned out, that wasn't as much. But just the status of the lot itself, a lot of the prime rentals are going to be beside the ocean, and that's shoreline zone, which even has a higher limitation on lot coverage. So that the prime properties would be very limited by lot coverage and actual just space to be able to fit 2 parking spaces on, and still have at least 2 parking spaces for the existing dwelling unit there.
So
yeah, I guess, and the point that I was trying to make, I guess, would be that if it inhibited a lot of these places from even doing that, would it be a big issue at that point? And I'm not saying that to be combative. I'm just kind of picking you guys' brains.
Then I'd question why we add another ordinance to another thing
right.
to our role. I mean, if it's going to only affect 4 or 5 people, let them appeal, and we'll build it for 4. We'll approve it for those 4 or 5 people that are truly into this situation. Here we are creating another ordinance where all we do is complain about every ordinance we have already in the books, and we're going to add another thing to it. If it's only affecting a very few people, why not let those very few people appeal to us and build it like Kathy had brought up?
Do we currently have an apparatus for them to appeal something like that?
No. Again, what we're doing is accessory dwelling units are allowed in the community. What you're doing is expanding it into 2 other districts.
Correct.
And so what you could do, I guess, is try to shape in these 2 districts a application process that the
right.
Board of Selectmen would have to approve, or the planning board, whatever you want.
Or ZBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leah, you have a problem.
Yeah, I think I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but I think we need to be very careful about allowing sort of appeals if there's a zoning requirement that they can only be in certain zones. Maybe make it a conditional use or something like that, but to appeal to the selectmen just seems like an odd procedural way to handle that.
Well, the reason why I suggested that is because we have hardship abatements. And hardship abatements are individual. They come to you and they make an application. It's not up to the assessor. They come to the Board of Selectmen. It's an exception to a rule. So we have a process that we could do similar to that.
But if it's I absolutely understand that. But that is oftentimes you're authorized by statute to do those hardship abatements from a tax assessment standpoint. But there's you know, a decent amount of case law that talks about if it's really akin to, I mean, I guess it's really not a variance because it's not a dimensional requirement,
Right.
but it's almost a use variance, which I'm not trying to, I mean, we're trying to find solutions, not problems, but I just wanted to flag that as something that we might need to work
So-
through a little bit more.
Quick question
So
for you.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm developing a piece of light industrial property right now for my business, and I had to put together a site plan approval that listed approved uses. Could we use a process similar to that where you submit an application with that exception where it's going to be listed for the specific use? And if you violate it, then it'd be just like if a business violated their site plan. I assume that code enforcement could fine them. There, you're muted.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about there, but I think that, you know, from a land use planning perspective, either the use is allowed in that zone or it isn't, or, you know, and Mike, as the planner, you can speak to this, but that's what a conditional use is for often, is that it's something in between, that you don't get a free, you can't absolutely do it because it's not permitted, but it's a conditional use where certain conditions essentially can be put on that use to ensure that it fits within, it can be a permitted use where it is now and a conditional use within the zones that you're concerned about. But we can talk about this offline, but I think it is something we need to think about, is that there's somehow an appeal process for particular people in particular zones. I think that can be problematic.
So we could do a conditional, though. We could say, okay, we create in that district a conditional use process.
Yes, and that already exists under your ordinance. There are a lot of things that are conditional uses, and they have to check additional boxes procedurally that permitted use as a right. You know, you have your table. It's P, C, permitted, conditional, or you got a big X that says no can do. So the conditional use process, and you can actually even, sometimes you can enact specific performance standards for that particular use. I mean, that's something that, we can think about as well.
Right. Can we say that that one of the requirements is that this has to be their primary residence? Is that allowed?
Yeah, I think that would pass muster.
Okay. Good.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just about to say the accessory dwelling unit requirements already require that the regular dwelling unit be their homeowner occupied. Well, I guess it doesn't say it has to be their principal residence.
I would say it would have to be their primary residence.
Yeah. We actually don't have any conditional use format in the ordinance right now. We have, when someone comes in for a site plan approval, we certainly put conditions on it, but we have no format within the ordinance right now for what other towns call conditional use permits. And it's a whole, that would be a new added ordinance to add to the code to allow that. And we'd have to look at different towns to see how different towns do it.
I would rather see that. I would rather see that. And that would be, so it couldn't be on the November ballot, but we could still look, if that's something that we want to follow up on, let's look at doing that.
And perhaps what we could do is within, and Mike, let me know what you think about this, within the criteria for the specific performance criteria for accessory dwelling units, we could even break it down and say, if you are in the X zone, then A, B, C.
Yes, that could be done. We could do it within the existing performance guarantees.
We do it that way.
Right. Okay.
So do you want to shift this back to the planning board? Do you want to set a public hearing on it? Where do you want to go from here?
No, I want to set a public hearing on it. I want to send it back. I want us to work on it more because I don't think we can get it done in time for the November ballot anyway.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, if we're going to be looking at making those changes, I definitely would want to put it off till potentially next June and give it some good work on it.
Yeah.
Is everyone in agreement on that? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike. Moving on to street discontinuance, John.
Again, I'm going to turn it over to Mike. Mike has been approached by a property owner with a problem with his title, and we're trying to help the person clear it up.
Yes. Oh, thanks, Chris. There's a plan that's being shared right now on the screen to give you an idea of the location of the area in question. And what happened is, you know, years ago, back 1962 or 61, I think it was, we abandoned the old Route 9. And you can see it on the plan as that long curved line with an arrow through it. But what happened when we abandoned that, there used to be a connection across 9B from Cheney Woods Road to that old Route 9. And we abandoned old Route 9. Yes, exactly, right where that highlight is. So
Wow.
there used to be, thanks, Chris, that's good icon use there. So we never abandoned the very northerly tip of Cheney Woods Road that used to connect to Route 9. We discontinued, abandoned Route 9, but didn't handle that little or address that little connector piece off the end of Cheney Woods. And we've never, of course, maintained it. There's actually a mobile home partially across the area that used to be the 3-rod extension of Cheney Woods Road. And in a recent boundary survey that one of the abutters had done, of course, that was discovered and looked at. And actually, there's a building permit on the lot next door that has the mobile home as well. So we've known about it for a little period of time, and it's something that the owner's known about and needs to be cleaned up as far as the town taking a formal action on abandoning or discontinuing that little strip of or end of Cheney Woods Road. Technically, it's already been abandoned because the town hasn't done any maintenance on it for over 50 years. But to make a formal abandonment, there's a statutory requirement for that, and it takes a vote of the selectmen. So we have a choice. We can either abandon it or discontinue it. And, oh, great, I was just about to ask you, Chris, to put up the other plan. So this is a portion of the boundary plan of the abutter next door. And I highlighted the strip of land we're talking about, and I put an orange line through the middle. So if the town discontinued the road, then it would make clean, clear title to both the properties on either side that they own the full fee interest of the road with no encumbrances but the town right to that orange line in the middle. By the statutes of abandonment, they already own to the middle, but there has to be a legal. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, does someone have a question or no? So, you know, there's two processes we can look at, either officially abandoning that or going through the discontinuance. The discontinuance has a couple of other legal thresholds you have to take care of, which is actually compensating the people who are going to get the land. I mean, they've come to us and they've requested us to discontinue it, which, you know, benefits everybody, cleans it up from the town's perspective and cleans up their title. But part of the legal requirement is that we have to compensate them for their loss of not having a road there. So in the past, with other roads we've discontinued, we've given $100 to either property owner to make it legal. We did that in the past on other roads we discontinued out in the Taconic area and other back areas of town. But that can certainly be looked at, whether it's $1 or $100. I don't know how that original amount was derived for those other discontinuances, but there has to be some amount determined. But that's the situation out there, and I was asking can I ask the Board of Selectmen which direction you want to go with it?
Mike, just a quick question on the mobile home, assuming that this were to go forward and with the orange line sitting there, does it make that lot then non-conforming because of the setback requirements, or what happens there?
Yeah, so both the lots right now, or I shouldn't say both. The lot with the mobile home on it right now is non-conforming both with lot area and setbacks. But it's there, it's been there for a good 40 years. So it's grandfathered, but it's already non-conforming now, and it would still be non-conforming. It actually becomes less non-conforming because they'd have clear title to the center line of the old Cheney Woods Road.
So you're recommending a discontinuance? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's the cleanest way legally to fully resolve any title issues in that area. And, you know, both have a process, both require a public hearing. We just, you know, would want to, of course, work with Leah to make sure we have the legal documentation correct. I can pre-set up the documentation based on previous discontinuances we've done to make it easier and less expensive. But that's the best option, is to discontinue it.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah.
Leah has her hand up.
I do. I think one thing that I've seen in other towns is that, you know, particularly in circumstances when the abutters are requesting the discontinuance, I've seen and I've drafted documents where they will waive damages. So in this circumstance, that's something we may explore. I mean, as Mike said, it can be simple as $1, or they could waive it entirely, but we could document that up if that's something they'd be willing to do.
I'm good with it.
Yep. Anybody else?
Makes sense.
I'm fine with this continuance.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
I'd say move it along then, Mike. Work with Leah.
If you don't mind, I'll contact the owners on either side, and I'll work with Leah, and we'll take the next steps.
Good.
One request, it's probably trivial, but just if we have to pay something out, no more than 1 penny. I just find that concept absurd in this instance, that we would give away money. But
Good point.
Any other questions or comments? Again, thank you, Mike. You have your work cut out for you.
Hey, thank you.
Next workshop is update and discussion on the bid for the town-owned land on Route 109. John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mike and I are here tonight to tell you that a lot of work went into the second bid, and we received, unfortunately, no bidders at the $200,000 mark. To set the stage for this, we went back from the first bid, and through Mike and our consultant, traffic consultant, we were able to get the DOT driveway permit. And we illustrated 5 lots that could be built. What we are recommending at this point is a discussion of a couple of different options. One, to reduce the price of the land and rebid it. Second, to get a realtor to market it and sell it. We lose a commission, but we would have some options there. Or 3, to go ahead and create a formal subdivision and have it marketed by a realtor.
I don't have any problem with having a realtor. I think we should have kind of done that right from the beginning. I'm not sure people would bid on stuff like that, but they would have better access to people that might be willing, but I don't want to go into a development business.
No, I would have been all right with either of the first 2 options, drop it to 180 or something, or go with a realtor, but I'm not interested in doing my own subdivision town-wise. I don't really like when we get involved in that stuff.
Yeah, I'd say go to realtor route.
how much did we pay for that again?
$89,000.
89.
And we didn't pay direct. We had to come up with lots that equaled what he was asking for. We had to trade the land.
Yeah.
It was a fun exercise.
And we did buy the other smaller piece that was in the middle of it, too.
Yeah, that was $35,000.
35.
We're all in for about $110,000, $115,000.
Yeah, get a realtor to give you a price on it.
Yeah, I go the realtor route and see what you come up with, John, and bring it back.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, am I authorized? It won't be me, but are we authorized to do a kind of find a realtor and just do it? Or,
yeah.
Yes.
Someone local.
Yeah, local.
A local, right.
All right. That's what we'll do.
Next workshop is update on town projects. Go ahead, John.
So on the park design, we were asked to bring this back one more time with a little more information, and Jodine is here to present that.
I don't have any further updates than what I gave you last time. We were at the cost of about $30,000, and I was still waiting for the irrigation cost, which I'm still waiting for the irrigation cost. I did order the sign with the Public Works Department, and the sign is going to say, coming fall 2020, the Forbes Family Gateway Park. And that can always be changed once we actually do the park, but that was at least to get people excited about it.
And again, the park is going to be at the intersection of Route 1 and 109.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim,
No.
Tim, did you have a chance to talk to Joe after you volunteered him last time?
I have not. I haven't talked. I didn't volunteer any of their money. Don't get me in trouble. No, I didn't want to say anything until I was sure that it was gonna. I think he's on tonight. He usually watches, so he's bored lately, I think. Yeah, I will talk to Karen this weekend probably, and Joe and Matt. So they'll all know by the time. One will know, and then they'll all know soon.
And this is Route 1 and Mile Road.
Yes.
Right. Okay, because you said 109. Okay.
I'm sorry, Route 1 and Mile Road.
Thank you.
It'd be a big park if it wasn't.
I promise I will have that conversation with the Forbes family.
Okay, good.
Great.
Thank
you. The next one is Town Hall siding project. Again, Jodine has been leading that, and she has a report.
I did give you a memo to kind of give you some background. We've painted the building twice over the last 15 years, and we don't seem to get the paint to last very long. And so the next question is, what do we want to do for siding? And I've talked to quite a few contractors, and they suggested that Serpentine is going to be one of our best bets. So I did have a company come in and give me a approximate cost of what the materials would be to do Serpentine siding. And again, we're not locked into anything I chose. It was just to get us a ballpark. And it was almost $20,000. That's not including any labor costs whatsoever. And the next question would be, if you want to go with the Serpentine siding, it does look very much like regular clapboard siding. The upkeep of it is going to be far better than what we have right now, and we won't be painting it every 5 years. And that would also include doing the cupola, which we would do in a PVC, and then we would have less maintenance on that as well. And we would wrap the poles out front. We would put PVC around all of the windows, anything that didn't have PVC around it. We would rewrap the building, get rid of any rot that we might have around the windows, and we're going to redo all of the drainage around the top side of the building. So that was our plan, but the question was, I could go out and get bids for the project, which I had thought about just doing it 2 separate bids. One bid would be for materials, and the second bid would be for the labor. But the more I thought about it, I thought that it would probably be best if I bid the entire project out. At least we have a guideline of what we know materials will cost now. Would you want to do that this fall and try and get it done, or do you want to wait until next spring? Is one of my questions to you.
This project would be one of the priorities that you would be looking at down the road a piece with what it's a capital project, and we had said that going into the new year you would stop and prioritize the project so to save on cash flow and know where we are, with what sort of economic conditions the town's going to be in this fall, because there's a slug of projects and purchases from the capital improvement plan slated to go forward. And we put the hold on these things until the new town manager came on, one, and secondly, so that you folks could prioritize what went forward.
I guess from just to continue your discussion, John, I guess it wouldn't hurt to get the pricing so we know what we're talking about. And looking at, when you say prioritizing, that's definitely going to be happening here over the next period of time. But at least if we get the kind of numbers, then at least we know what we're talking about and what the overall cost would be.
If we added 20% cost to that, and that's usually what they do for labor, we'd probably be looking at almost $80,000 to do this building. Maybe a little bit more. The cost of materials keep going up on a weekly basis, it seems. But we're looking at least 85,000 to do this building.
And we have
101 in the CIP account for this, I believe. And I'm certainly not saying that you should move on it. I'm just giving you the ballpark so you know, so I don't have to kind of come back and redo this with you and you're not sure what your plans are with all your other projects. I have no problem holding on this project. If you want to hold it until the new town manager starts and we go and talk about this again, I'm certainly happy to do that with you. And
That certainly, that would be my recommendation, that we get Larissa on board and you bring it up then when we're starting to talk about all the projects collectively.
Sure.
Have a good idea as to what the project cost is, then at least we can make some determination as to what direction we want to go in as a board.
Certainly.
Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Jodine.
Welcome.
Next workshop is the transfer station update and issue of the organic materials and to consider scheduling a public hearing. John, is Carol still on? Yes, there you are, Carol.
Yep, I'm here. I thought I was going to come back with a solid recommendation. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that, and let me explain why. And I spent a long time this weekend with a calculator and trying to go over things in my mind. I don't think I have enough facts to fairly give you a recommendation based on reality and not opinion. And let me explain why. We don't know what percentage of the material there is from individual homeowners versus commercial accounts. We know approximately how many commercial vehicles come through on a daily basis, but not the volume that they are transporting in to put into the pile. The exception to that would be the brush. Those vehicles are weighed. So we do have solid numbers there. That was my first concern. My second concern is a lot of the commercial accounts, or even the not so big commercial accounts, but individual people mowing lawns, are set this time of year. They've made a deal coming into the spring, and I'll do your lawn for the summer for X amount. It could be unfair to change things in the middle of the season. Again, I don't mind that they know if we're going to charge them, but they need to know in advance so that they can talk to their customers and build it into their pricing structure. So my thought is as follows, and again, it's just a thought. We can ask Jack Russell, the gentleman that works in the scale house, to do a count, even if it's not weighing every vehicle, but do a count of, you know, Murray Construction came through with 5 trucks today. They were all 1 ton's X amount of volume, so we know what came in from there. Then the fire chief came in with his little pickup, and there's 1 load and 1 volume. So if we do that on a daily basis, we would have some numbers to be able to accurately say what percentage of material on either a daily or a weekly basis is coming from individual property owners or commercial accounts. Then I think we can say, okay, we know when the volume builds up like it is now, it's going to cost $15,000 to clean it out. An X percentage is due to commercial, and X percentage is due to, I'm going to say residential, just for lack of a better term, and fairly assess the different fee structures that might be associated with that. Leah, you'll appreciate this. I've had a lot of lawyers tell me over the years, do not ever be arbitrary and capricious, because it doesn't work. So that's what I'm trying to be very careful about. I want to be sure what I recommend is based on fact that we can substantiate and support. Otherwise, I don't know how you folks can make a policy decision. So that means I think we have this discussion again, probably early fall, when I have some percentages, some numbers, some estimation. Fall, I think, and Selectman McLeod could speak better to this, but I think that's a new negotiation with your clients when you come into the fall cleanup season. So I wish I'd had a hardcore answer for you, but I'm trying to be careful and do something that's fair to everybody, fair to the town, because we've got to stop the bleeding at the transfer station, but fair to the users of the transfer station. So that's my suggestion. I'm happy to answer questions, and please, if you've got suggestions or thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
I think the most important thing here for people to understand and recognize is that the DEP a year ago, July, came in,
yes,
and we had a concern with the volume of material that was on site. So, you know, they're very willing to work with the town for us to come up with a solution, which certainly, you know, I've talked to John and a couple of other landscapers. It doesn't necessarily mean a banishment come from the transfer station. Talking with John and others, as I said, you know, moving material on a more consistent basis. If it comes in, then it has to go out type thing, and charging accordingly would be probably the appropriate approach. But I think, Carol, with what you just said and getting all the facts and figures together to see what's right and proper, to be fair for everyone on board, to have that information would be critical. So not to do anything at this point, but let's get some more information and then bring it back to the board.
I would feel much better about that, because then I think I could give you something with the facts behind it and not, again, being arbitrary or just using my opinion. We do have a contractor who is willing to clean it up now for about $15,000. And then once we have 10 loads, he would come in for $130 a load and remove the material. So that option is there, which DEP I'm sure would be very happy with. And I can write that up for you as a proposal. 15,000 is about what we spent last May to clean the area out. It's in much better shape now than it was back then. And I think, as your chairman said, if we keep up with it, DEP will be much more pleased with our actions.
As long as people understand that this, you know, is more of an enforcement.
Oh yeah.
From the DEP, that we have to react to it and come up with a solution. That's the critical piece in all this, is that people need to understand, you know, when rainwater goes through those piles and the stuff starts to decompose, you get runoff or leachate that comes out of the piles, which the DEP has a concern about going directly into the water sources around the transfer station. So
that's correct. And they've been fair with us to date, but they're going to want a plan.
I've had some discussions with the folks there, and they're very willing and able to work with the town. And with your plan in place to get some more information, I think they'd be more than willing to continue to work with us.
Can I ask a question, Carol?
Sure.
Is the pile as big as it was the last time that we paid $15,000 to have it hauled away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And that's, if that was on an ongoing basis, would we go out to bid for that?
Yes, what we did last time, we got 3 proposals and they were all over the board, and we had to reconcile how they were given to us. I would still do that. I would still get more than just one proposal. I mean, the material does have some value. Admittedly, some composters don't want to touch it because we don't screen for bamboo or other invasives. So some landscapers that make compost don't want to touch it. And if they're doing organics, we can't obviously certify it's organic. But we'll get some more quotes, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from the board? Questions, comments? Well, good luck, Carol. You have your work cut out for you for a while.
Well, I feel a lot better being able to step back and get the facts straight.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next workshop then is review and discussion of the proposed Mile Road Playground equipment upgrade. John?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packet is a proposal for the Mile Road Playground. This was a issue that the board has discussed. We have some money set aside to upgrade the equipment down there. Tina LeBlanc should be on the Zoom. I can't see her, but she has taken charge of this. Tina's our recreation director and is responsible, there she is, responsible for the playground. And she's been working with the company that supplies the equipment. She has 3 pieces to add and replace down at the playground for the board to review. So I'll turn it over to Tina.
Okay. Yeah, so what we wanted to do was the 3 primary pieces right now is the headless caterpillar that you've seen down there that the kids, it's a safe piece, but it's obviously not a very nice looking piece. So it's been an eyesore. So what we propose to do is replace that with a climbing apparatus, which fits the footage. We have a certain type of footage that we have to meet, so they have shared space in between. So what you see in the proposal is, it's called the Infinity One, and that, I think you guys all got a picture of everything, the pictures of everything. Okay, so that would go where the caterpillar is, so that's that climbing piece. The second piece we want to do is that there's been a bouncy, I think it was a little horse for quite a while, it broke and we had removed that. We're going to use that space and install what we call the spinner. It's the revolutionary the spinner. So it's a revolutionary inclusive spinner, and it holds up to 10 kids on it. So that's a piece that will fit nicely there with the shared space of the other apparatus. And then of course we want to replace one of the swings with the inclusive swing. So all of that is what we had proposed. We set aside $20,000 for it, and it actually came up to $19,900 and something. So it was right within that budget. This does not include all the labor, of course. So that we would need to help them out with. And Carol, I'm glad you're still on board here, because part of that would be helping digging holes and putting in cement posts, etc. So what we've done in the past on some of the playground apparatus. So that being said, this proposal is on the table. They're ready to move forward. They are behind. All playground suppliers are behind right now, but they say that we could probably get this this equipment by October, so we could feasibly put it in this fall. So just want to know your thoughts on that and see where we're going with it.
Questions from the board?
No, I think I'm excited. That's awesome. I love that the inclusive stuff too, because that really, it's like those kids that sometimes struggle to get on stuff, and it's good to see that we're thinking that way too. That playground's a little near and dear to my heart because, as you know, Vanda kind of started that one and named it after Marguerite, my mom. So it does have a little place in my heart down there. And I'm just happy to see we're getting a little more stuff down there. So thank you to whoever.
Yeah, I love that spinning thing. I think that is really cool. Yep,
So,
I think it.
I'll go ahead and sign the purchase order and get this thing rolling.
Yeah.
Kathy, I'll push you on it the first day it's up.
No, I just watch it. It looks really cool though. It does. Thanks.
And Tina, we'll always help. So whatever you need.
I appreciate that. I'll get more information to you as soon as I connect with the vendor. And I think you're familiar with him too. You work with him.
Yep. So we'll be there.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Do we have to have a motion for that? There isn't one here, but it says authorization. We just say okay. Is that all?
Yeah, I take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we proceed with the equipment purchase and upgrade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.
Right, I'll move forward with it then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tina. Thanks, Carol.
Welcome.
Next, we have the Selectmen Committee assignments.
Yay.
Has everyone been reviewing these and looking them over? Does anyone want to make any changes, or are you happy with the way it sits?
So our recycling committee, do we even have an active recycling committee?
No.
Okay. That's
So that's a good one to be on, John.
I'll volunteer to switch that.
out of here, Tim.
China might be
I
opening
like-
things up, so it could be changing here in the next few months.
Nope, I'm happy. It looks good for me. I like it.
I like it.
John, you okay with it?
I'm good, yeah.
And Sean, you're good?
I'm good.
All right, I'd say that was easy enough. Leave them alone then, John.
Very good.
Next is good news. Go ahead.
Well, again, we have quite a few letters, and one is from the Bureau of Veteran Services. The Southern Maine Veteran Cemetery writes again that thank you for your donation to the Southern Maine Veteran Cemetery. Your support is really grateful. And then they send a longer letter from Ron Rivard on just indicating the different things that they'll be using the money for. Construction is well underway on our project to erect a POW MIA monument to recognize and honor those veterans. They're also the main monument and 6 of the 13 tablets will be installed this fall. I would urge anyone that has not been to the Southern Maine Veterans Cemetery to go up and take a look at it. It's
Nice.
it's a very nice area. Very nice. And then we have some letters from people who are very grateful to the lifeguards for the incident that we had. What was it, 2 weeks ago, Chief, the fire chief?
I'm not sure which one you mean, but I think it was the weekend of the 11th.
Yeah, this is from Miss Wilkinson.
Yeah, I believe that was the 11th, yes.
This was riptide, and a number of people got caught in it, and the lifeguards made a great rescue.
Yeah, she was. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chief.
No, it was just it was a great letter. There's 2 letters. I think one from the actual child wrote us a nice little letter to the lifeguard, and then the mom also was very, very appreciative and just couldn't thank us enough. So I think the lifeguards were really appreciative of those kinds of letters.
Great job.
Yeah, well done.
The last letter I have is a letter of appreciation to the Parks and Rec staff who this person says does a fantastic job in maintenance of the grounds at the park on 9A. And they just wanted to celebrate the good work that is being done up there on the trails, on the fields, and after being a resident for 30 years, they wanted to come forward and thank everybody.
Anything else from the board?
Well, I would like to say, if you ever have a chance to stop at that Sanford Veterans Center, it's they've done a great job up there. I drove in there once, and it's a beautiful place. And just real quick, I think sometimes in the news today, we miss things. And unfortunately in California, in the last 2 days, 8 Marines were killed in a tragic accident out there, and young kids, 18 to 23 years old, just training. I think it's 8 to 9 passed away. And I think we miss this in the news because everything's got to be about everything else, and we kind of miss these things. And I just want to send my sympathy out there to the, these are kids, I have a couple of kids that played for me recently that I've gone in the Marines, and I'm often thinking about them. And when I see this, it breaks my heart to see these things happen. So I just want, it's not really good news, but I just want to acknowledge that we did have this tragic accident in the last 2 days.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Anything else?
Yeah, do you mind if I speak just for one quick second?
Sure.
I wanted to put out a thank you to Carol and the Department of Public Works. They did a great job. They expanded the, very easily took out some interior walls inside the lifeguard shack, and for quick work, made a big improvement down there. Cleaned up the outside by taking out those vending machines from that little pocket area, which was collecting dirt, debris. And I just wanted to thank them for all their work on doing that. And they made such a big impact for such a little thing. And I just wanted to make sure that she was recognized for that, and her department personnel.
Thank you. I'll pass that along. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Carol.
Anything else?
Nope.
Moving on then to open to the public. Twice during the evening, we give folks the opportunity to write in or question anything they want to discuss with the board. Brittany, you have some questions?
Yes, we do. Some questions about the beaches. Have you all had time to talk about a canopy being put over the benches at Wells Beach? It would be wonderful for all senior citizens and anyone who cannot sit in the sun for too long.
Well, we have not talked about this. The canopy system, for one thing, we're going to be faced with making decisions on that seawall right there in another few weeks. And then secondly, the canopy put up, we would need to figure out if it interfered with the hotels and their viewing shed. And third, canopy right there in the wind and so forth would have to be a little bigger structure than what's down in the Gunkwit, I think, in order to withstand the climate right there. So it's not been dismissed. It is something that we would have to look at very carefully.
Next question. Thank you for removing the barrier at Public Way 15. Can the bushes be trimmed to 3 feet at Public Way 15? It is quite dangerous walking from the crosswalk to the beach. One cannot see cars coming and cars cannot see you.
Is Carol still on?
Yep, I'm still here. And a lot of those rights of way do need to be trimmed again. Those in particular that had the barrier were not trimmed. Again, we didn't want to disturb the birds, but now that they've fledged, we can get in there and trim those bushes back.
Another similar question here. Can we install a flat and cut bushes back on Public Way 12 for a handicapped chair?
Could you read that one again, Brittany? Install a flat? Is that what?
Yep, I think handicap access, and then cut the bushes back so that a handicapped chair can go through the public way.
We can look at that. We'd have to make sure we met ADA and the requirements, but we can certainly look at that and see if it's feasible and what might be involved.
Next question. The harbor playground needs some brush cleaned out. The toddler swings can't even be used as there are so many overgrown rose bushes right up against them. Is this something that the highway department is doing?
That would be the rec department. But if highway wants to take that, go ahead.
We did actually a week ago. The summer guys did that because they were down there working around that area and they saw some folks with little kids who were swinging into the rose bushes. So they actually went over and started to trim those.
Good job. Next question. Could a Jersey barrier be put at the lifeguard stand down on Webb Hannet?
Lifeguard stand on Webb Hannah. What would
I think what she means is, and where the lifeguard stand is, as you come around that corner, it's on Crescent. Like the lifeguard stand's on the road or up on the, not on the road. It's on the side.
It's on the side.
And I think the fear is that if someone wasn't paying attention, they could hit that lifeguard stand. There's no protection to those. The way I understand it, that's the way the question is.
Okay. I'll take a look at that tomorrow and see what we may be able to do, but I'm not sure there's room enough to actually put barrier there. And then you got to worry about how do you put the stand in and out, but we'll definitely take a look tomorrow. So we'll get you a better answer on that, but I really don't think you can do it, but we'll take a look at it.
Carol, I'll go down with you just in case and just see if there's any other alternatives.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. I'll
Thanks.
let you know tomorrow when we can
Sounds
go.
good.
Next question. When will we repair the road in front of the lobster pound?
We'll be talking about that as a bond issue coming up. It's not, I guess, it's not really affecting too much down there. But it is something that we have to take action on in the coming months. And so we'll get to it as soon as possible.
When will Swamp John be getting graded?
Swamp John is going to be repaved with a small thin coat of asphalt. That will be done in the next couple of weeks as soon as Carol can arrange it with the contractor.
Correct. We called the contractor today. Unfortunately, he was out in the road and didn't get back to us. But I think now that the road is relatively stable compared to how it used to be, we can put a thin coat on it. If we were able to do the larger project in the next couple months, I would say, no, let's don't do it. But getting a permit from the state for the work on the larger project is likely going to take through the winter. All through the COVID confusion, I guess is the way I'll put it there, the folks that process permits at the state level were working from home and there were only 2 of them. So a significant backlog of permit applications developed, and we're not on the top. So if we've got to wait to get our permits and not be able to do the larger project in the spring, I think it's appropriate to do a skim coat of asphalt up there for ease of maintenance and also relief for the abutters that are putting up with the dust.
Next question. Are Mass residents welcome yet?
Our friends from the South are always welcome, but the state of Maine has not recognized them as they have New Hampshire, Vermont, New Jersey, and New York. So they are required to go through the governor's quarantine or testing when entering Maine.
What is considered short-term lodging?
Under 28 days.
Regarding the park, are we talking across the street from Cumberland Farms next to Brown's Garage?
No, I'm sorry that I made that error in what I said. It is the park that used to be the 7-Eleven site right at the intersection of Route 1 and the Mile Road.
Will the solar dump be discussed?
The solar array farm is a commercial project that the town of Wells leased to the party. It is going through the planning board. that is the vehicle where it will be discussed and determined.
Why aren't any of the other committees on Zoom, especially the planning board?
The planning board is on the cable channel. They are working towards holding public hearings. They do so outside the building in the parking lot. And until this room is set up appropriately for Zoom, they have decided to stay with the process they are using.
Question here, might need more information, but what about the parking on Harbor Road? Parking on right side of road at Fisherman's Catch is very dangerous.
It is very dangerous, and that's why we are working through a federal grant, which seems to never end, but it will create a separate sidewalk and prevent the parking on the right side in the future.
I think this one is for Tim. Are we going to have Wells football this year?
The computer froze.
I'm here, so it wasn't me.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I don't think Tim can.
I asked Tim the question, Brittany, earlier before the meeting started. Everything is still up in the air in regards to what's going to happen with the start of school. I believe he said that no decision has been made in either direction at this point in time. They're still waiting to get all the information put together, and then someone's going to make the determination regarding that.
Yeah, the state, he said he was waiting for the state to make a decision.
He lost power. Tim lost power at his house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bad.
He'll try to get back on.
That's all we have for now.
Hey, can I take a quick minute to ask Carol a question? She's still here.
Carol, you on?
She's not here.
Hey, everyone, it's Paula.
All right.
The power is out at the Public Works Department, so she is offline at the moment.
Paula, maybe you could answer the question. The other day, when I was discussing with Carol, plowing, it had come up that we could potentially get a deal on one of the six-wheelers is in budget. I was hoping that you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes, actually, we've been talking with the dealer from last year that we bought the truck from, and they are offering to hold the price that we paid last year for the trucks that we're looking for this year. That is including the equipment to outfit the trucks as well.
Do we know what that would save us by any chance?
I have not looked at today's price, but I certainly can find that out for you tomorrow.
All right, that'd be excellent. Yeah.
The only thing we need to make sure that people understand, John, is they're not going to hold this price much longer. They're kind of out on a string holding it for us right now.
Have they given us a timeline when we'd need to talk about that?
They would really appreciate something within the next week or so.
Okay. The only reason I figured it was worth mentioning, I know it wasn't on the agenda, but it just came up in conversation yesterday when I was talking about some things with Carol. If we could save a few $1,000s, I don't think it'd be a bad idea looking into it, depending on where it was in the schedule and everything else.
Well, we would need it on an agenda, right?
Paula, are these scheduled pieces of equipment to be purchased as replacement or upgrades?
Yes, they are. They're on our 6-year plan that we had put forward to you last year.
Okay, and the money's in the CIP account?
Yes.
Okay.
Can they go ahead then? They're going through Sourcewell or through the state on it?
As far as I'm concerned, as long as it's part of the plan and the CIP money's been set aside for it and it's part of the process, then I'm good to go.
Do you want a motion for that?
Sure.
Carl,
how many
do you,
are there? Paula,
Sorry, John, I didn't hear you.
how many trucks
2 6-wheelers, fully equipped.
with a trade, right?
With one trade, yes, we'd like to keep one truck as a backup, because at the present time, if one of our trucks goes down that we have out, our mainline trucks, we do not have a backup. So we would like to keep one of those as a backup. They're offering us $10,000 for the trade.
As long as you stay within your budget guidelines, I'm okay with that. You got to have a backup piece of equipment.
Right, that's what we were hoping for.
this is a backup piece of equipment. That doesn't mean that it's going to come down the line. We're going to be looking at it to replace that one, right?
No, right now we just, like I said, we don't have, if something goes down in the middle of a storm, we don't have a piece of equipment to say, okay, park that one and take this truck. We have to pull someone off. Someone's pulled off their route, and then someone else or the rest of the crew has to double up and cover that route.
So basically, we would get $10,000 for that truck, but we're using $10,000 to have a backup truck, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, and we kept the loader too when we bought the new one, but you know, you talk about snow removal, it's an emergency service, and you know, having contracted down at the town of Wells, I've seen up to 3 trucks go down sometime in any given storm, so it's imperative that we have enough equipment, even if it's something we use all the time.
Just as long as it's not adding to the fleet.
Correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of these 2 trucks.
And trade one and keep one as a backup.
And trade one and keep one as a backup too. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'm so used to Tim that he's
I'll second it.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
And where's Sean?
And he must be out. Is he out of power too? Because he's in that area.
Okay.
No, he's in a different area.
All in favor? We got 3. All in favor?
Okay. Aye.
3-0. Thank you.
Thank.
Anything else before we move on to current agenda items?
John, was there, oh, current agenda items, right. Is that when you were going to bring up the other thing, John?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Never mind.
First item is review and action on accounts payable and payroll warrants. John.
We have one warrant tonight, Mr. Chairman. It's dated today, August 4th, 2020. Warrant of $649,461.66. 2 pay periods since we last met. First pay period net dated July 23rd, $106,886.95. The second pay period dated 7/30/2020, $105,580. Withholding for those 2 periods, $87,317.38. Total expense, $949,245.99. It's split FY20, which is the year which is being closed out, at $24,832.83, and FY21, $628.83.
Any questions?
I move to approve and sign the warrant dated August 4th, 2020 in the amount of $949,245.99.
John, you want to second it?
Oh yeah, sorry. Second. I'm used to Tim doing that too.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you. Next item is update, discussion, and action on committees, projects, issues, purchases, and personnel, with the first being discussion and action to schedule a public hearing on August 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom on the release of up to $50,000 from the fiscal year 20 town meeting. Article 8, potential town liabilities under legal services, funds to cover the FY20 legal account overages due to a larger than normal legal services required. Take a moment to set that up, Kath.
I move to schedule a public hearing on August 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom on the release of up to $50,000 from the fiscal year 20 meeting Articles 8 potential town liabilities under legal services funds to cover the fiscal year 20 legal account overages.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0, thank you. Next item is discussion and action to schedule a public hearing on August 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom on the release of up to $6,000 from the fiscal year 21 town meeting Article 8 potential town liabilities under facility maintenance and repair fund to cover the replacement mooring chain cost, which is being undertaken by the harbor master through an inspection of the moorings this summer. Fiscal year 21 budget does not have sufficient funds to cover the amount of chain required. Kathy?
I move to schedule a public hearing on August 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom on the release of up to $6,000 from the fiscal year 21 town meeting Article 8 potential town liabilities under the facility maintenance and repair fund to cover the replacement mooring chain cost, which is being undertaken by the harbor master through an inspection of the moorings this summer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next, we have discussion and action on moving the Lodging Facility Advisory Committee's recommendations for amendment to Chapter 145 land use forward to the Planning Board to review and recommend back to the Selectmen for an article on the November special town meeting warrant, as well as changes to Chapter 150 licenses.
That we didn't.
I
It
would
was-
recommend tabling.
Yeah, I make a motion, we table it.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor to table?
Aye.
3-0 table, thank you.
Carl, Tim would like to know if you want him, he can't get back on at home. He'd like to know if you want him to come drive to the town hall. I don't know where we are here.
Can he just call in his?
Hey, Chris, can he call in?
Yeah, can he call in by phone?
Yeah, do that.
I think, tell Tim we'll be done. If he can't call in, we'll be done by the time he were to drive in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So moving on then to our next item action is discussion and action on proceeding, if possible, with amendment to Chapter 145 land use dealing with accessory dwelling units for the November election and to set a public hearing.
I make a motion to table.
Yep. All in favor to table?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next, we have discussion and action on scheduling another public hearing to release up to $120,000 from the Conservation Open Space Reserve Fund, which is 0705, to purchase the Yared Conservation Parcel Map 62 Lot 4, as passed under Article 14th at the annual town meeting on August 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. Kath.
I move to schedule a public hearing via Zoom on August 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of releasing up to $120,000 for the purchase of the Yared Conservation Parcel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next, we have discussion and action on updates, personnel and committee assignments, resignations, and issues. John, you lead it off.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to recognize Paula Green for 25 years of service with the town, and with Tina LeBlanc for 25 years of service.
Wow, congratulations, girls.
Outstanding.
Second, I'd like to report that we've hired the deputy assessor. He is Alex Martin. Alex was on our energy committee. He's a local individual, local realtor that saw the light and thought he could use his expertise with the assessing department.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Under the Board of Selectmen, we have the acceptance of Jackie Boyko's resignation from the library trustees.
I move to accept the resignation and write a letter thanking her for her service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you. Next is the acceptance of the library trustees' appointment recommendation of Amy Anderson to fill the vacancy until the next municipal election in June 2021, per the library trustees' bylaws.
I move to appoint Amy Anderson as library trustee, term to expire June 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next, the appointment of Brenda Lehman, town clerk, as a town agent to issue state game and fishing licenses.
I move to appoint Brenda Lehman, town clerk, as town agent to issue state game and fishing licenses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0, thank you. Next is the appointment of Brenda Lehman, town clerk, to act on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to grant approval and sign applications for a special permit for catering privileges by qualified catering organizations or off-premises permit for duly licensed restaurants holding a current state liquor license.
I move to appoint Brenda Lehman, town clerk, to act on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to grant approval and sign applications for a special permit for catering privileges by qualified catering organizations or off-premises permits for duly licensed restaurants holding a current state liquor license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next is the appointment of Brenda Lehman, town clerk, to act on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to grant approval and sign applications on a letter to the state licensing department for an extension for a liquor license which has expired and is scheduled for a public hearing at the next Selectmen's meeting.
I move to appoint and authorize Brenda Lehman, town clerk, to act on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to grant approval and sign applications for an extension for a liquor license that has expired and is scheduled for a public hearing at the next Selectmen's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0, thank you. Next is the cable TV studio manager stipend for fiscal year 21, raising that stipend by recommendation of $500 to be added for a total of $3,000 per year.
I move to approve this stipend. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to wait?
Anybody had any questions on this, if you're all okay with it?
Okay. I move to approve the stipend increase for the studio manager for an additional $500 per quarter or $3,000 per year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0, thank you. Next is the acceptance of Ron Collins' resignation from the Lodge and Facility Advisory Committee. And
I move.
go ahead, Kathy, I'm sorry.
I move to accept Ron Collins' resignation from the Lodging Facility Advisory Committee and to send him a letter of thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next, we have quite a few appointments for our new town manager. First,
right.
Appointment of Larissa Crockett as town manager effective August 10th, 2020.
I move to appoint Larissa Crockett as town manager effective August 10th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0, thank you. I believe instead of individuals, I'm going to read the list of everything we're going to appoint her to. So we have quite a few. An appointment of Larissa Crockett as Selectman's clerk effective August 10th. So as tax collector effective August 10th. Also, general assistance administrator effective August 10th. Also assistant road commissioner as of August 10th. And as public access officer effective August 10th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0,
Aye.
thank you.
No, Tim's
I
back.
don't know if you can hear me. I'm on again.
Yeah. Oh, that's 4-0.
4-0, thank you.
I'm on by phone.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, there was a question that came over the Zoom that maybe the motion they heard from Kathy on the appointment of the interim person for the library was until June 20th, 2020. It was to June 2021.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me. I probably, well, hold on one second. Let me find it. did I say? The library appointment of Anderson to fill the vacancy until the next municipal election. Okay, to expire June 2021.
Can I get a second?
Second. I
Okay.
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you for catching.
4-0, thank you. Next, we have discussion and action on accepting donations. First being $100 from Willis Wood and Pamela Avidizian to the Wells Fire Department in appreciation for their good work.
I move that we accept the generous donation and write a letter of thanks to the donor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Shoot.
I'm going to say 3-0 because I can't hear Tim. Next is a $30,000 donation from the Hall Family Foundation to finalize the landscaping project at the Public Safety Complex.
I move that we accept the generous donation and write a letter of thanks to the donor. Thank you.
Second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0 again, thank you. Next is discussion and action on approving the minutes of the 2020 Selectmen's meeting. Any corrections or changes need to be addressed?
I didn't see any. I move for approval of the July 21st, 2020 Selectmen's meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
I think I heard Tim on that one, so we'll go 4-0.
Okay, good.
On to new business. We are open to the public for the second time this evening. Brittany, do you have some questions?
Just a few.
Okay.
Excuse me. When will Wells Beach get a new sign? It still has an emergency number of 646-9911.
What was the question, Brittany?
When will Wells Beach get a new sign? It still has emergency number 646-9911.
That is a 7-digit emergency number. We're required to have by law.
That's everything new that we got that we haven't discussed.
Okay. Town manager's report.
Sure. Carl, can I have something to open to the public?
Sure.
Or are you just speeding right by? Just real quick. I know this is the last public meeting. It's open to the public. I just wanted to say thank you to John. I know he's got his report to give, but I'm sure everybody's going to want to get out of here with other things. But I wanted to thank John for all the help he's given me over the years, the community and everything. And I know we're all going to miss him and miss his knowledge and all the information he has in there. So hopefully he'll answer our phone calls. All I can say.
Here.
Yeah, I want to echo that, John. We've been together for 20 years or more, you know, in one way or the other at the town hall. I don't remember town hall without you there. So, and Wells is in a much better place because of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, John, and hey, I can say the same thing because I think you've been down there almost as long as I've been alive, so.
Hey, thanks. I know it's a ghost. Yeah.
I will say, and I will echo all of the sentiment. John and I, over the last 12 years or so anyway, probably talk at least every day, if not twice, 3 times a day. Professionalism, morality, ethics, it goes without saying how truly wonderful a guy you are, how great of a job you've done for the town of Wells, and we're certainly going to miss you.
We are going to miss you.
I second.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, we can hear you, Tim.
Yeah. All right. I had a long thing prepared for John tonight, but because I lost my power, I'm now mad at him because I think it's him that caused the power outage. No, I'm joking, John. You know, we've been together a long time. I actually knew you when I was much younger, as you know, for another reason. But I just want to say thank you very much for all your time you spent as town manager, and you did this town proud. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, give us your last report and go home.
Well, thank you all. And just a reminder, the household hazardous waste collection is August 29th, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also wanted to announce, which we already did, that we're paving Swamp Pond Road. And that should happen within the next couple of weeks. The fire substation is coming along exceedingly well.
Yeah.
We have a dug well that drill well, yeah, that is very productive. We have the building itself going up, if you haven't been by. So they are on track. It should be done, what, Chief, in so they can get in and do the inside work in September and be done by November, I believe.
Yeah, their schedule was for going all the way to the end of the year, but they don't see that as being an issue. They think they'll be done much sooner.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah. And I don't know if Carol's back with us or not, but on the Newhall Bridge, we had the Newhall Bridge go out. We have a temporary fix, but it's very temporary. It won't hold any weight of any large truck going over. And so Carol has been able to do a temporary fix for no more than $55,000. It has been put together by our structural engineer, Jim Hall, and it will take care of this winter, allow for oil trucks to get over to furnish services for that one house over there. It will allow for other trucking or other neighbors up there to go back and forth. So it is a structural fix, although temporary. It will get you by till next year. So
Good.
what we're looking for is your authorization to go forward with it.
You want a motion?
Sure.
Carl,
Sure.
okay.
Take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we do the temporary fix on the Newhall Road for up to, how much was it, John? 55,000. 55,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you.
And before I turn it over to Leah, we had a late afternoon call involving Mike Livingston, Jodine, myself, and Leah, and an attorney from her firm that's working on the FEMA flood map appeal. And it's coming along. Just like anything else, it's a work in progress. With Leah, we will want to have a further discussion with the board down the road in a very short time period to get guidance from the board, I think, in an executive session. So, Leah?
Sure. Just before I start, John, I have to just add my voice to the chorus of praise to you and how much you'll be missed. And, you know, I represent a lot of towns, and I know just that you are one of the most incredibly well-respected town managers in the state. And when they made you, they broke the mold. And also, I have to say, I owe you a huge debt myself. The fact is when I started almost 20 years ago, I was a new lawyer, and I have to say, I think I learned as much about municipal law and practice from you than I did from many, many attorneys. So thank you very much. You will be tremendously missed. Okay, on to FEMA business. Yes, so as you recall, the town is engaged in this long process about dealing with concerns about the preliminary flood maps that FEMA has issued. And so where we are, most recently, we've engaged in this process called the LOMER process, which is essentially a letter of map revision. And where we are is FEMA has asked some additional questions. They have some additional information that they're looking for. And where we go with this will necessitate some strategy decisions that to have that information out. We want to make sure that we are all on the same page before this becomes, we don't want necessarily FEMA to know what our strategy is at this juncture. So we need some guidance from the select board, as John said, in fairly short order. So we may be requesting an executive session soon.
Okay, good.
Let us know when.
Yeah, it's been a long process, I'll say that.
Indeed.
So it's my turn to say goodbye. I'm closing in on 1,000 selectmen meetings.
Wow.
Well, you can come back if you're one short, John.
Yes. I might take you up on that. Clearly, I am going to miss working for the, expert boards of selectmen that I've worked with over the 25 years. Everybody that I first started with, Butch Chase.
Yeah.
I was the first single firefighter, fire chief rather,
yeah.
For the town right after the vote, and had a great time for 6 months running the fires on that. Didn't do a very good job, as people will recall, but that's how we got John Dean, our first fire chief, and so we've done a lot over 25 years. The community has changed. We have worked with so many good people in our community that I've been privileged to be your town manager in those times. I did take a hiatus after the first period, went to Kittery and came back because Wells is a special place, and I feel at home here. And I know that Larissa will do a great job for you. I'm here to help her, and we'll see what my role will be going forward. So thank you all.
Well, thank you, John.
Oh, outstanding.
Outstanding, yeah.
A quick question for Chief Dupuy. Any issues in town with the storm at this point in time? Or are we all set?
It's funny, just
I don't have
guys,
power.
just we're talking about it right now, tone after tone after tone.
Okay. Well, again, thank you,
Carl,
John.
Carl, I don't have power. Don't you think that's an issue?
Can't hear you, Tim.
Not for any of us.
We're fine.
Time to buy a generator.
I have one.
We currently have literally three simultaneous calls right at the moment. So I think they're all power related, but we'll see. They're going out right now.
Is it from branches? From branches coming down? Or?
We got one that's a power outage. We've got, two that are power outages, and one that's coming in now as a CO activation in a home on Littlefield Road. So that's also in an area that has no power. So it could be power related as well.
Yeah.
So not sure.
Okay.
Well, let's hope for a safe night. Again, John, thank you. It's been a pleasure. For all those you at home, wear a mask, do the well, stay healthy.
Come back and visit.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bye, John.
Oh, thank you. Good night. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, don't go. I just want to tell you that Butchie and I laugh. I mean, he's the one that was there to hire you the first time, and I'm the one that sends you off.
I know.
That's terrible. We'll see you. Good night.